great pleasure right now to welcome to the show. She's a news reporter. She's been a news anchor. She's done just about everything in the business, and she's written a fascinating book. It's called Watercooler, Behind the Scenes and Off the Record, The Untold Stories from Broadcasters. We're joined now by Elizabeth Sanchez from out in San Diego today. How are you, Elizabeth?
Hi, Doug. I'm fine, good.
You're out in beautiful sunny California today, and you've kind of worked around the country in the business. You've put in your time, haven't you?
I have, yes. I started my television career in a small market, Yuma, Arizona. So, yes, they used to call it, they probably still do, the armpit of America. But, loved my time there, so.
You talk about how, and most of us have done the same thing. I'm primarily in radio, but a little bit of television. But you have to start, if you don't live in a market which gives you an opportunity, you have to move away sometimes, don't you, to a smaller market?
Right, absolutely. And, I grew up in Southern California, and at first I thought, I don't want to leave. I don't want to go to a small market. I didn't want to go away from my family. But I am so glad I did, because I have met so many wonderful people in different parts of the country, and especially during my time working for CBS News, traveling. I was based in Dallas, but I traveled all over, including I went to Florida numerous times. And I just enjoyed everybody I've met, and I'm such a better person, I think, because I moved away from my hometown.
You did something that I've done as well. You started out doing college broadcasting. I guess out there where you were, the college had a TV station. We had radio, but similar type of upbringing as far as your college education goes, right?
Right, absolutely. I actually had did college radio and college television, but at different colleges, because, as you said, my university didn't really allow us to be on the radio, so I went to a local community college and got on their radio station. So I was able to have that experience, and my internship was also in radio. But and in one of the stories in Watercooler, Sandra Gonzalez talks about her transition from radio to television and what that was like the entire day.
Let's talk a bit about the book called Watercooler, and a lot of people in here, some I've seen on TV, some I haven't, but you have great stories, as some of these reporters have written some of their experiences in the field. How did you get them all together? Are these people you've worked with in the past, or did you just kind of call them up and say, this is an idea I had?
All of these people are basically people who I know personally. They're all my friends, and I, called them up and said, here's an idea I have, and I would love to have you be a part of it. And I basically compared it to Chicken Soup for the Soul. It's like Chicken Soup for the Soul meets broadcast news. And, the thing is, though, I wanted some other reporters that I didn't know. I tried to reach out to people I did not know, and I was actually turned down, and I think it was because of the economy the way it is. A lot of people are concerned about their jobs and didn't want to do anything to bring attention to themselves that may make a news director let go of them. So that was a little difficult, getting the number of reporters that I wanted to get. I had tried to get much more reporters that actually end up appearing in the book. And also, there are some big anchors who we know in this business all have egos, and they wanted to save everything for their own book one day.
That's right.
Dr. Laura Schlesinger had told me about that when I first, because she's also part of my book. And
yep.
When I first told her, she was one of the first people I contacted about this book, and she had said, I don't know, you're probably going to have a little trouble getting television reporters to contribute, because she says, I don't know too many of them who aren't into themselves. And, I had to remind her, well, I am a television reporter, and, you're nice to me, and you don't think I'm that way. but I have to admit, as always, I guess she has some good advice, and that was her advice to me to, not to necessarily to try and get, all of those reporters who basically turned me down. So, so it was a little difficult getting stories.
We're talking with Elizabeth Sanchez. The name of the book is Watercooler. You mentioned earlier about news anchors and the ego sometimes you deal with. There was he was one of the great anchors, don't get me wrong here, but on Channel 2 in New York, Jim Jensen. But he had a way of making his reporters, after a story, sometimes not feel very confident, because you always ask them a question on the air, and they didn't know right away. He would kind of chastise them on the air. Do you ever have to deal with an anchor like that? You don't have to mention a name if you don't want. But.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah, I think not too often, I have to say, but I have dealt with that on one or more occasions where maybe the anchor just tries to outsmart you, so they try to do more research. And, I'll tell you when it's really difficult. It's really difficult when it's a breaking news story and you're on the air so much, and somebody is trying to get information, like an anchor. For instance, I covered recently the Michael Jackson's death, and there was so much misinformation, I have to say, coming out when that story was hitting, as far as someone was going to take over his tour, and I think ABBA was going to step in, or the Jackson 5 were going to report, minus Michael, and all those stories were coming out, and I even got asked about that on the air, and I was, I just had to basically say, I don't know what you're talking about. Because that's not what I'm hearing here. I'm covering his death, and that's not what I'm hearing.
That's right. I mean, there's nothing like live broadcasting or live news. I think that's when television is at its best, but there are those moments where it can be a little hairy sometimes, right?
Right, absolutely. And especially maybe when you're covering an emotional story, because you have to remain composed. And I talk about that in Watercooler, about a story in South Carolina, Susan Smith, the South Carolina mother who drowned her 2 little boys. And, from the very beginning, we believed her. We thought someone kidnapped her 2 children. And we were reporting that, and we were trying to help authorities find these 2 little boys. And then when it all comes out, you're there covering the story for weeks, for days, and it all comes out, and then you feel so betrayed. And you have to, remain composed, and you just, you feel like just, crying on a story, on a situation like that. But you try your best just to bring the viewers the facts and the information as it happens.
You talk about in the book, Watercooler, also the state of the news business, both television and radio as well. We all know what's happening with cutbacks. Are you optimistic about it, and where do you see it going?
I am optimistic because there's so much as far as the internet and as far as social media, and people still, as an industry, there are still avenues for people to report and tell their stories and bring viewers, listeners, readers information. But it is a shame that everyone's doing more with less, and people are making cutbacks because of the economy. And I think, for anybody getting into this business, I would say, learn to do it all. I think one of the reporters in my book, Watercooler, talks about doing it all and then some, and trying to, not only do weather, but reporting and anchoring and writing and producing and making yourself more valuable. I think as the industry as a whole, I think the passionate people, and I think I heard this too when I first got into the business, that the passionate people, the people who really wanted to be on the radio or be on television as a journalist or to help people and report the news and do a service to viewers, versus those who just want to be on radio or just want to be on television. So I think those people will make it. But I think they're, it's hard to say. In a sense, there are fewer jobs in the traditional radio and television stations, but then the 24-hour cable stations, the internet, social media, those are providing more opportunities for people.
There's nothing like being in a newsroom, right? The banter in there, some of it cannot be said on TV or radio, but that's a fun place to be in, isn't it?
It is a fun place to be in. It is exciting, and I think this, Watercooler gives viewers that opportunity to get a peek inside and a look, because it's very exciting.
Well, it's a fascinating book. Anybody who follows the news on any level is going to be interested in hearing from, I guess about a dozen different reporters that have submitted some of their favorite stories about what they've covered. It's called Watercooler. We've been talking with Elizabeth Sanchez. And Elizabeth, you want to direct the website to get the book?
ElizabethSanchez.net, or you can get it on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com, but ElizabethSanchez.net can direct you in that direction.
Well, Elizabeth, I appreciate you taking a few minutes today, and we'll look forward to talking to you again soon.
Great. Thank you so much, Doug.